It's Ash from Super Videos back for another video talking about The Walking Dead. We got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right into it. Now, I already did a live stream video yesterday discussing this, but I decided to also do a video highlighting the key discussions from the stream, recapping it a little bit, and also adding to it based on our discussion yesterday. So even if you were in the stream yesterday, there's a lot of new stuff that I'm gonna dive into in this video that you may not want to miss. But anyway, for those who have no idea what we're talking about, this is the big news. The Walking Dead's Twitter account recently tweeted this, and it's driving people crazy. It's going everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. If you missed it, you must be living under a rock. But they said, and I'm quoting here, breaking. Hashtag The Walking Dead will conclude in 2022. You heard it right, 2022. With an extended 24 episode 11th and final season. And I added that you heard it right part, but you get what I mean because you're looking at the tweet right now. In 2023, Angela Kang will return to helm a fourth hashtag TWD series starring Norman Reedus, aka Daryl Dixon, and Melissa McBride, aka Carol Pelletier. So first things first, holy crap, obviously this is some huge news. I don't want to say exciting news, but it's huge news. I mean, we've talked about the possibility that the show could come to an end in season 12 or 13. But who would have thought that it would be as early as season 11? It's actually not season 11 per se because there are 24 episodes based on the tweet and the news articles. So it's an extended season, which is very interesting. I have a lot to talk about with that alone. So 24 episodes means we're going to get an entire season plus 8 additional episodes. So it's like the final season is a season and a half, and it's all under one season. All the stories under one umbrella. Now the fact that the Mothership show is coming to an end as early as the end of season 11, 2 years from now, is heartbreaking for many, many fans. For me though, I've been so invested on the show, on this channel, and it feels like an eternity that I've been covering the show. So the fact that it's ending is definitely heartbreaking because it's like the end of an era, you could say, as far as the channel is concerned. But it's bittersweet. And why it's bittersweet is because as much as it sucks that the show is ending, my favorite show you can call it, I am stoked to see first how they're going to end it, and second, see the next chapter in the bigger Walking Dead story. I hope, however, that they're going to go out on a high note. I hope they do the final season justice and go out on a bang. I hope they go out on top, as they say. If Rick's final episode, and to an extent Michonne's final episode, is anything to go by, I think we're on good hands. I think that they will do it right. I think, or I hope, that they can handle the final season the same way they handled Rick and Michonne's final episode. As much as I disagreed with some of the creative decisions made in Michonne's final episode and a little bit in Rick's final episode, I loved that they gave fans what they felt like we wanted to see. And they were right for the most part. They gave it their all, and that's what counts. We could definitely see in those episodes that it was a show created for the fans, made by fans, if that makes any sense. But here's where my other bit of discussion comes in as far as the 24 episode structure is concerned. 24 episodes for season 11, which, like I said, is a full season and a half. I think that's a great thing. And the reason I'm saying that is because the alternative may have been either ending at the end of a 16 episode season 11, which meant losing a lot of great story they didn't have time to do, or having 2 16 episode seasons like we originally thought. And I think this would have meant that we may have gotten a lot more slower paced and bottled episodes that many fans are not a fan of. So it definitely does feel like they wanted to take their time with the final season, but they did not want to stretch the story. So I appreciate that the writers and the showrunners and whoever was in charge decided to go with an extended 1 season to complete the story rather than 2 seasons, which may have been dragging the story a little bit and likely would have gave us a couple of bad episodes in there. I would rather have a great extended final season than 2 seasons with good episodes and episodes that were just either alright or that were bad or terrible or whatever the case may have been. The other thing to talk about, what does this mean when it comes to the comic storyline? This probably means that the show is going to end around the same time the comics did, because we only have like a season left. A season and a half if you want to get technical. So how much can they really cover in that time span? I think we're probably going to get the ending of the Whisper War story, which is going to be the finale of season 10, which we're going to get in a few weeks, and maybe the first 2 episodes of season 11, the final season. Then we're going to get the Commonwealth story. However, they have to first build up the Commonwealth story before we dive into the main Commonwealth story. For comic readers, you know that there are a few issues in the comics that just scratch the surface of the Commonwealth story, but they don't really dig deep into them until a few issues later. So I think, say from episode 3 to episode 6 of season 11, they're going to build up the Commonwealth story. And from episode 6 or 7 to episode 9 or 10, they're going to give us the juicy Commonwealth story that the comics is known for at this point. They may even fill in some of the gaps that was missing in the comics around this time when it comes to the Commonwealth. How they were formed, the colonies they're associated with, and so on. And they may extend that story to episode, let's say 12 or 13. And if they want to include the CRM in there, they may push it all the way to the end of episode 16 or close to episode 16, where a regular season would have been. Regardless of what they're going to do with the Commonwealth story in general, they're also going to need to do the final 2 issues of the comics, which were huge on their own. And again, they're probably going to need to fill in some of the gap in the story, specifically for the final issue of the comics. There were many instances of pieces of the story that were missing in the final issue that fans were disappointed with. And, we wanted to see them. We wanted them to really dive into it. So I think they're probably going to bring all of that to the show. So realistically speaking, the Commonwealth story plus the final 2 issues, which are coupled together, translate to episode 3 to episode 14 or even all the way to episode 16 of season 11. Then, once they hit this point, they have a solid 8 episodes left, or maybe a few episodes more. So what are they going to do for those? There's 3 things they can and should do. The first is to bring earlier comic storylines that they wanted to do but didn't get a chance to do. The second is to bring things full circle a little bit as far as Rick is concerned. Now, I don't mean they should bring him back because we still have the movies and so on, but maybe have it so that there's a link between the show and the movie, so that we follow some of the story from the Mothership show in the movies. The last thing they will need to do is build up or set up the 4th spin-off, which is about Carol and Daryl. That gets me to my next point. What is that going to be all about? First things first though, this means that neither Carol nor Daryl will die on the Mothership show. They might die on the 4th show, but not on the Mothership show. And the chances of them dying on the 4th show is also extremely low. Now, the other part of it, though, is that they signed a contract that's going to end 2 years into the 4th show. Let's say that translates to 2 seasons of the 4th show. They probably can't die during that time either. But after that time, they could either kill them off or do something with them. But I think that at this point, both Daryl and Carol are the safest characters on the Walking Dead universe. Maybe safer than Rick and Michonne. So that's a massive confirmation and a relief for most fans. They have the thickest plot armor you could think of, like I said. But the question that comes up is whether this fourth show is fan service. Are they milking it with giving us like a fourth show like this? A fourth show with two of the most fan favorite characters on the show. Are they milking it? I can't really answer that right now before I watch the fourth show, obviously. But what I can speak to is, what can they really do with Daryl and Carol together? Just the two of them. They're probably going to need to bring in more characters, build up more stories, and so on. So, at the end of the day, is the show really ending? Plus, we don't know who's gonna go with them. Just because it's Daryl and Carol's show doesn't mean nobody else from the main show is gonna go with them or join them. So in a way, is the show really ending? The other thing though is that Angela King will be showrunning it. So it's almost like the exact same thing. Just like season 9, just like season 10, and just like season 11. But the difference would be that most of the story, or the focus of the story, is gonna be on Carol and Daryl. Just like the focus of the main show was on Rick first, when he was around, then Michonne, when she was around, then it really became an ensemble story in a way. Because most characters had an equal share of focus in the story. Daryl, Carol, Negan, Judith, Gabriel, Ezekiel, and so on. So let's backtrack. Is this really an ending? To me, it's an ending in a sense that it's the end of the comic story, and it's the end of Rick's story. Now I know that Rick is not around, Michonne is not around, Carl is not around, but Judith is. I think as long as Judith is around, it continues to be Rick's story, because Judith is following Shane's legacy. I mean, Rick's legacy. Were you really expecting me not to make a joke? I only have so much time left, so may as well make the most of it. Anyway, something they can do with Judith if they are not going to kill her on the main show or have her transition to the fourth show, which I don't think they will do, is to have her, maybe with Michonne, transition into the movies to not only reunite with Rick and see the reunion between Michonne and Rick, but continue Rick's legacy. So if, and I'm just saying if, they decide to kill Rick in the final movie, Judith is there to carry his legacy forward to the next one, like the next chapter or what have you. So as long as Judith doesn't remain in the mothership show, meaning her story continues elsewhere, Rick's story would have come to an end for the mothership show. So they're just ending the main show in a sense that they just want to start from scratch. I think it's like, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying this, but I think they're gonna do what Fear did, but better. A soft reboot, but not soft rebooting it on the same show. Rebooting it in a way where it's a new show on its own. So you're not comparing it to previous seasons and saying it's not what it used to be, it's not this and it's not that, and so on. Fans already do this with Fear and the main show, because it's a spin-off, and I'm guilty of that too. So they want to eliminate all of that talk. So they want to reboot, but an actual reboot, in a way where they end the main show properly and they do it justice and they start fresh. But the fourth show is going to air in 2023, a full year after season 11 ends in 2022. So what are they going to do in that time? During that time, they're probably going to produce the fourth show, obviously. Within that time, we're probably going to see one of the movies. Hopefully the second or even the third. I hope by the time the fourth show is up, we would have seen at least two of the trilogy of movies they have planned. So we talked about the main show, we talked about the movies. What about the other shows? Well, we know that World Beyond is 2 seasons. So by the end of season 11, we would have probably seen both World Beyond seasons, which may tie into the movies like we think. Now, we don't know the exact timeline of when we're going to see season 2 of World Beyond because everything's been shifted back because of the pandemic, but I think it's a safe bet to say that by the end of season 11, we would have seen both seasons of World Beyond. So that means the only things left are the fourth show and Fear the Walking Dead. We don't know how long Fear will last for, but I would not be surprised if they come out with another huge news saying that Fear will come to an end in season 8. And they might reveal this like later on next year or something. But if Fear remains, we only have 2 shows. The 4th show, let's just call it the Daryl and Carol show, and the Morgan show. I mean, Fear the Walking Dead. They did also confirm that we're gonna get Tales of the Walking Dead, which pretty much means stories about characters of the past. It's like backstories for characters from the past, characters who are either no longer in the story, no longer with us, like dead characters, or characters who are mentioned but we didn't really see them. Or even characters who are still around but we haven't fully delved into their past or future story as much as we need. A character like Negan fits that. Someone like Shane would fit that. Abraham, Glenn, and so on. Now, Negan's situation is a little bit interesting because if they want, they can do like a spin-off on Negan, or even a movie on him, or both. Comic readers are well aware of 2 Negan-centric comic stories. Here's Negan and Negan Lives. If they want, they can bring in Here's Negan to the big screens and have it be like a movie, and have Negan Lives be a continuing story in a spin-off, or even have it such that it has a small part in the Tales of the Walking Dead. Now, with all of that said, there are also a few other details in the link they tweeted about, which is interesting, which I want to mention. This comes from Skybound. The first thing I want to talk about that was in there, Gimple was quoted as saying, "This will be a grand finale that will lead to new premieres. Evolution is upon us. The Walking Dead lives." That's very, very interesting. Now, leads to new premieres obviously refers to the premiere of the 4th show, or I think it does, but he says evolution is upon us. Could that possibly be a hint about the title of the 4th show? It could definitely be. And then he says The Walking Dead lives, which could also be a title, but I don't like that as a title because it's too cheesy. But I think he's just saying that we're not done. Walking Dead lives, it continues, and so on. The other thing that was mentioned, that the 4th show will be run by current Walking Dead showrunner Angela Kang and co-created by Angela Kang and Scott Gimple, who's the chief content creator for all things Walking Dead. But the main showrunner is Angela Kang, just like season 9 was, just like season 10 is, just like season 11 will be. But that's everything I wanted to discuss in this video. I know it was super long, but for a huge news like this, I couldn't just talk for 10 minutes like I usually do. If you made it to the end and enjoyed what you saw, make sure to share and smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified about future uploads. That's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one.